Hi everyone, my name is Jason, and today I want to show you how to connect a local instance of RushDB to a cloud or Aura managed instance of Neo4j. Alright, so let's dive in to see how this is going to work. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to use Docker to install and run RushDB locally. And what that will do is that will present a GUI that we can set up RushDB, and then we'll use RushDB's Python SDK to run a Python script to ingest data into RushDB, which actually pushes into the Cloud Aura instance. Okay, so let's dive in here. All right, so the first thing is I'm presuming we've got Docker installed. And so what we're going to do is we're going to create a compose.yaml file to run Docker Compose up later. So if we go to RushDB's docs in the RushDB platform setup, you can see here we've got a sample compose file here. So I'm just going to copy that and paste it here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the Neo4j URL and passwords to match the Aura instance that I have. So when you create an Aura instance, you'll be given a credentials text file like this. So you can just copy and paste all this. And now if I run Docker compose up, this will pull down an image of RushDB. So the first time you run this may take a little while, but after it's in, then we can run it. Okay, so it looks like it's up already. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my browser and I'm going to put in localhost 3000, which is the default address. Okay, so when you first spin this up, you'll be presented with this login screen. Now, the default login password is just login user and password for a password. And once you come in, you will get the screen showing that you have no project at the moment. So we'll just create a new one. And here, I'll just do a test. Create. And this API key is what you will need to run the Python SDK. So here, I'm just going to click copy, and then, so here I have got a project that I created originally with Poetry. So I've already ran Poetry install RushDB, and you can see what that looks like here. So Poetry install, or add, sorry, Poetry add RushDB. Okay, so of course you can use any virtual environment you want. So here we have a simple Python script. We're just going to import RushDB, and we're going to initialize the RushDB client with that API key that we had from the GUI. And make sure to set the base URL to localhost 3000, otherwise it will attempt to connect to the cloud instance of RushDB. And here I've got an example of a single node that you can push to the database. But to make it more interesting, I have this nested JSON object. Now, this is the really cool thing I like about RushDB is the ability to pass it a JSON payload like this and have it create nodes and relationships automatically for you. So here, the top level object is going to be the first node record, and the label for it is going to be set when you actually run the API. But everything else is going to become a property of that node. And anytime you add in a nested list dictionary value like this, so here we've got all caps to represent a new label. So this is going to be a different kind of node. And anything, any of the dictionaries or maps inside, the key values will become properties of that node. And if you go and nest further by doing this again, by putting in a nested list of dictionary objects, it will create additional nodes that are connected to the top level ones. Okay, so this will probably make more sense after I run this. So here, there are actually two calls. There's like a create single node and then the create many. I recommend just using the create many because you can also give it just a single node and it will create just a single node. So rather than going back and forth between the APIs, I just recommend just using the create many. Okay, so don't forget you have to give the first top level object a label because it's not passed in through here. And then passing in the data, the map, and then any options you want for the return. To run this, I'm just going to run poetry run RushDB app py. I did not show you the database empty first. So let me go back here. Boop. Okay, so you can see here we have an empty Aura database. So now I'm going to run the script, and I happen to use poetry for the virtual environment. And here, if we go to the GUI and refresh this, we can see that hopefully some data, yep, we can see that data was imported, and RushDB even has this very cool 3D data visualizer. And if we go to the Neo4j instance, we can see the data is populated here. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show all the relationships. So here, if I zoom in, we can see that original node object that was defined in the JSON payload here, Google LLC, its address, rating 4.9. Rating 4.9, name, address, and here you can see that the relationships between these different nodes were created. So we've got this node for department, a node for project, and node for employee. So we got 4 nodes, and so here, Jeff, Bart, so 4 nodes here, and then this is a RushDB label. So this is going to be used by RushDB in the background. All right, so that's one way to get a lot of JSON data locally up into a Cloud Aura instance. Thank you very much. Have a great one, and see you in the next video.